Check, 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 check.
Yeah, this stand is terrible. Hello, hello. It's on. Mm-hmm. Am I good? I'm one away from cancer. She's schmoozing. Yeah. Okay. Welcome, everyone. We're so happy to have you here with us this morning. As we take our seats, I just have a few important announcements. My name is Michelle W. Malkin. I'm the executive director here at Temple Ner Tamid. If you take a moment to check your cell phones, please make sure they are on silent so we can all enjoy our service together. A few location things. If this is your first time with us, our restrooms are located down this hall across from the kitchen. We have an all-gender accessible restroom in our office, which is located to my left. And then one downstairs, there's an elevator across from our chapel. If you need any assistance at all, you can ask myself. We also have two wonderful custodians, Danny and Glenn. They all have name tags on if you need anything at all. In addition to hearing assistance, we have a wonderful new system. If you'd like to take advantage of that, just let me know. In the unlikely event of an emergency, just so everyone is aware, our emergency exits are these two doors behind me, as well as if you go down this hallway, there is an exit door at the very end. We would all gather at the end of our parking lot to the left through the bushes to the golf course. That is where we would convene in the case of an emergency. The most important thing to remember is just to stay calm and be aware of the people that are around you. And if we need a first aid kit, CPR kit, or a defibrillator, they're located in our office here. But again, with anything, please let myself or custodians or any of the ushers that are wearing corsages know so we can handle any situation that comes up. I want to thank our lead usher, Carrie, and our head of security, Eric, for all they have done to make this a safe and enjoyable experience for everyone. And thank you so much for your time. Shana Tova, and our service will begin shortly, so please talk amongst yourselves.
Oh, Shana Tova.
Shana Tova.
Woo! Big day yesterday. Good one. So as you know, because if you're here on the second day of Rosh Hashanah, you've probably been here on the second day of Rosh Hashanah before. This is like Rosh Hashanah and friends. And we're going to start with inviting up some friends onto the bima now. So come on up. We're going to begin this morning. I'm going to let you into a little bit of my own theological struggles. There are so many moments where you hear either spoken or written, God, where are you? Right? I'm looking for you. Why can't I see you? Why can't I know you? Why can't I find you? Where have you been? And there are also many times where we feel like, helpless and hopeless on that end. And it occurred to me a few years back that I never really thought about whether or not God was looking for me. And that so many of our texts, if we turned them just a little, just turned them slightly, we might know all of a sudden that God is there and we're the ones who have turned our faces in another direction. And for me, that has been so enlivening and life-affirming because it gives me, as Rabbi Katz has said so many times, agency. I can do the turning. And so it's inspired me, and this first text that we're going to offer this morning comes out of the tradition of chanting Psalm 27 at this season. And the text, Bakshu fanai, seek my face, et panecha Adonai avakesh, please seek my face. Maybe it's me seeking, maybe it's us looking, and maybe it's God looking for us. I'll let you decide. But for the morning, just explore and see what happens. Bakshu fanai, seek my face. Bakshu fanai, seek my face. Et panecha Adonai avakesh. Et panecha Adonai avakesh. That's it. Bakshu fanai, seek my face. Bakshu fanai, seek my face. Et panecha Adonai avakesh. Et panecha Adonai avakesh. Lecha amar libi, to you does my heart speak. Lecha amar libi, to you does my heart speak. To you does my heart cry. To you does my heart. Telling people you get to translate, you get to decide what God means to you, what hallelujah means to you. You just can't be indifferent. Anything but indifference. So take a moment to imagine what is your hallelujah, what is your praise this morning. Hallelujah, hallelujah. We'll do a little echoing. Hallelujah. 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 We can do better. Hallelujah. 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 Bakshu fanai, seek my face. Bakshu fanai, seek my face. Et panecha Adonai avakesh. Et panecha Adonai avakshu fanai, bakshu fanai, seek my face. Bakshu fanai, seek my face. As I seek Shekhinah in this place, as I seek Shekhinah in this place, Lecha amar libi, to you does my heart speak. Lecha amar libi, to you does my heart speak. To you does my heart cry. To you does my heart cry. To you does my heart sing. To you does my heart sing. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Shana Tova.
Shana Tova.
The second day of Rosh Hashanah, in a way, can feel a lot like the first day if you don't bring something new to it. And so I want to invite you, although, of course, we're going to change the melody, the feel of the service, things might be different. The key is that you want to bring something different. I remember an interview that I read once with, I don't remember his real name, but his name was Cootie, and he was the trumpetist for the for one of the big bands in the 1930s, 1940s, the Duke Ellington Band. And one of the things that he said was that every single day he would come out And he would play basically the same solo over and over and over again, because when Duke Ellington composed, he composed in this really tight way that although there were solos, for the most part, a lot of what was written was completely scripted. And he said, and I think this was actually on the Burns series on jazz, that he would always try to find one note that would be different, one silence that would be a little bit longer, one accent that he could really push, so that every day it felt a little bit new. The goal is the liturgy that we are going to do today is pretty much exactly the same as the liturgy that we did yesterday. Though, of course, as I said, the melodies are going to change. The key for all of us is to find ways to make today just a little bit different. Because if the job of services is to grow, then you want to grow in different ways every time that you come here. So find a prayer that you want to pause a little more on. Find a word that you want to accent more. Find an idea that you want to let simmer inside of you. And if you do, you'll find yourself transformed in a new way on this second day of Rosh Hashanah. And so we're going to continue page 110 with the singing of Ma Tovu.
We weren't going to do that.
We weren't going to do that. My apologies.
But we can.
Page 120.
That's new. And so we're going to start with actually a little woe. Whatever woe could be like, whoa. It could also be like, whoa. We're going to start with a little woe, wherever your woe is. This is a midrash. This is a story within, a new kavanah for the Asher Yatzar, the blessing for our bodies working today in whatever way they're working. And so we start with a woe.
A little broken too. I will live each day as a gift. I will live each day as a gift I give to you. Whoa, whoa. Get in here. Whoa. Yeah. Whoa. Whoa. The bracha's here. Baruch atah Adonai rofei kol basar umafli lasot. Rofei kol basar umafli la'asot. Try it. It's okay if it's messy. Baruch atah Adonai rofei kol basar. Rofei kol basar umafli la'asot. We whoa, whoa. Yeah. Whoa. 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 Whoa.
We turn together to page 123. Precious above all is the soul within me, a spark of childhood innocence, curious, hopeful, loving, and good. Whatever I've done, wherever I've gone wrong, however I've been hurt, I know its light still shines. May I return and reconnect with the part of me that belongs to you, my divine core, eternal, incorruptible, on the facing page.
שנתת בי טהורה היא. אלוהי נשמה שנתת בי טהורה היא. אלוהי
נשמה שנתת בי
טהורה היא.
אלוהי נשמה שנתת בי
טהורה היא. אלוהי נשמה שנתת בי טהורה היא. אתה בראתך יצרת נקרת בי ואתה משמרה בקרבי. אלוהי ואתה אתר לכתוב נפלט ממנו ולהחזירה ונעתי לבוא כל זמן והנשמה בקרבי. מודה אני לפניך אלוהי נשמה שנתת בי טהורה היא. אלוהי נשמה שנתת בי אדוני אלוהי ואלוהי אבותיי ואמותיי ריבון כל המעשים אדון הכל הנשמות ברוך אתה אדוני אשר בידו נפש כל חי ורוח כל בשר איש.
Page 124.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר נתן לשכבי בינה להבחין בין יום ובין לילה.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam pokeach ivri.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם מתיר אסורים.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam zokef kifufi.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם רוקה הארץ על המים.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam שעשה לי כל צורכי.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם המכין מצעדי גבר.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam מלביש ערומים.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם הנותן ליעף כוח.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam המעביר שינה מעיני ותנומה מעפעפיי.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שעשני בצלם אלוהים.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam שעשני בן חורי.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שעשני ישראל.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam עוזר ישראל בגבורה.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם עוטר ישראל בתפארה.
Amen. Page 130.
ברוך שאמר והיה העולם
ברוך הוא.
ברוך עושה בראשית.
ברוך אומר ועושה.
ברוך עוזר ומקיים.
ברוך מרחם על הארץ.
ברוך מרחם על הבריות.
ברוך משלם שכר טוב לרעיו.
ברוך הילד וקיים לנצח.
ברוך בודה ומציל. ברוך שמו.
ברוך שמו בשבחות ובזמרות נגד לך ונשבחך ונפארך ונזכיר שמך ונמליכך מלכנו אלוהינו יחיד חי העולמים מלך משובח ומפרדי עד שמו הגדול. ברוך אתה אדוני מלך מהולל בתשבחות.
On the facing page. God is my light and my refuge secure. Whom shall I fear? God is a stronghold of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? Just one thing I have asked of God, only this do I seek, to dwell in God's house all the days of my life, to behold divine sweetness and beauty, and to gaze in delight at God's temple.
Adonai ori vishi mimi ira. Adonai ori vishi mimi ira. Adonai maoz chayai mimi echad. Adonai ori. Adonai ori vishi mimi ira mimi ira. Adonai ori vishi mimi ira. Adonai maoz chayai mimi echad. Adonai ori. Adonai Join us again. Adonai ori vishi mimi ira mimi ira. Adonai ori vishi mimi ira. Adonai maoz chayai mimi echad. Adonai ori.
Page 135.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah, 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 victoria. Hallelujah, hallelujah, birkia kuzo. Hallelujah,
Hallelujah.
hallelujah, 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 bikurota. Hallelujah, hallelujah, kerotulo. Hallelujah,
Hallelujah.
hallelujah, 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 liteka shofar. Hallelujah, hallelujah, benedicho. Hallelujah,
Hallelujah.
hallelujah, 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 dentro una columna. Hallelujah, hallelujah,
Let's hear you. Hallelujah.
hallelujah, 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 b'tzilei shama. Hallelujah, hallelujah, b'tzilei ruach, kol hanshama, kol hanshama te hallelujah, kol hanshama te hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. I feel like we owe it to ourselves to hallelujah one more time. I certainly owe it to myself. Hallelujah. Yes. Ah, hallelujah. 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 Halle- Hallelujah. 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 Halle- Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
purpose of blowing shofar is to kind of rouse our souls, to get us up. I feel like we're nearly there at this point.
We're so there.
But we need that maybe extra push over the edge. We're going to turn to page 136, and we're going to rise together as we hear the first of a few soundings of shofar this morning. Blessed are we, blessed our gathering as we open our hearts to the voice of the shofar. Together?
Happy are we who hears its call to return the sacred trumpet of Teshuvah.
Blessed are we, held close by ancient sound that echoes Lador Vador from generation to generation.
Happy are we who rise into the joyful cry of the new year.
Blessed are we who hear in these blasts the sound of the voice of community.
Happy are we who know its embrace, its quest for connection and purpose.
Holy is this gift of community, blessed the act of belonging.
Tekiah, Shvarim Teruah, Tekiah. See you later.
Blessed is the soul-reaching sound of the shofar. It proclaims the purpose of this day. Blessed is community, source of joy, solace, and strength to ever-living soul. Page 141.
ויתגדל, ויתקדש מרבה. וירנד ורחלותי, וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון ויומכון, ובחיי דכל בית ישראל. בגלה ובזמן קריב, ויאמרו יהי שמרבה מבורך, לעולם ולעולמי עלמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר רמה ותעשה, ויתהדר ותעלה ותהלל שמד קודשה. לעילה ולעילה מכל ברכתה ושירתה. תושבחה ונחמתה, דמירו יריבו ויאמרו.
We remain standing, page 142.
ברכו את אדוני המבורך. ברוך אדוני המבורך. לעולם ברוך אתה אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד.
Please be seated.
Source of blessings, our eternal God, your power fills the cosmos, shaping light, creating darkness, making peace and fashioning all things. Infinite light is preserved in life's treasure house. Light from the darkness, said God. It was so.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, יוצא אור וחושך, עושה שלום ובורא הכל. ברוך אתה
Adonai Elohim,
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו, ברוך אתה העולם, מלך העולם, עושה שלום ועושה הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני עושה שלום, עושה שלום, עושה שלום, עושה שלום ובורא את הכל, עושה שלום ובורא את הכל.
page 144.
In love, you bring light to the earth and its creatures. Your goodness renews the creation each day. Infinite, varied, and rich are your works, divine artist, all of them wrought with wisdom, The whole earth is teeming with life, awestruck by the universe, work of your hands. Let all life bless you, praise you, and celebrate the beauty of your lights. May your light may you shine a new light on Zion, and may we soon be privileged to share in that light. Our praise to you, Adonai, creator of the cosmic lights.
ברוך אתה אדוני יוצר המאורות. So, please.
In a moment, we're going to sing the words of Ahava Rabbah. And in doing so, we're going to say, God, you love us with this great love. Sometimes it's easy to feel love. Other times we have to open ourselves to let love in. And every morning when we acknowledge, God, you love us with this great love, Ahava Rabbah, we become practiced in the art of receiving love, which for many of us means letting down our cynicism, letting down our shield, letting down our barriers. And in doing so, we learn to be more loving in general. Page 146.
Ahava,
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 Ahava Rabbah,
Ahava Rabbah,
Ahava,
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 Ahava Rabbah,
Listen, Israel. Know the oneness at the heart of multiplicity. With love and reverence, bear witness to Mekor HaChaim.
ברוך אתה אדוני הבוחר בעמו ישראל באהבה. שמע ישראל אדוני
Page 152.
ואהבת
את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ושוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך. We'll invite you to continue silently through this prayer, moving through either the creative readings or the traditional words of the Via Hafta through page 158 in silence.
למען תזכרו
ועשיתם מכל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם אלוהים. אני Adonai Elohechem. Page 161.
The beginning of your word is truth. If you exist at all, I know you can't abide hypocrisy. And most of all, you don't want prayers that lie. You'd rather get an honest fight than strings of empty platitudes. So I can't pretend or hide in pious phrases given to me by my past. It's hard to speak my own imperfect truth. In fact, the more I say, the less I seem to know, and the further away I get from you, whatever you might be. I've heard that what you really want is not more words. You want the heart. That might be more than I can give, but I can try.
Page 164.
מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורות זהירות וספר. שירה חדשה שיבחו גאולים לשמך על שפת הים, יחד כולם הודו והמליכו ואמרו
I'll invite you to rise.
צור ישראל, קומה בעזרת ישראל, ופתחנו בך יהודה וישראל. גואלנו, אדוני צבאות שמו, קדוש ישראל, ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל. אדוני שפתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך.
אדוני שפתי תפתח ופי יגיד תהילתך.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואימותינו, אלוהי אברהם, אלוהי יצחק ואלוהי יעקב, אלוהי שרה, אלוהי רבקה, אלוהי רחל ואלוהי לאה, האל הגדול הגיבור האל עליון, גומר הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאונות לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. זוכרנו לחיים, מלך חופץ בחיים, וכותבנו בספר החיים, למענך אלוהים חיים. מלך עוזר, מושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי מתים אתה רב להושיע, מוריד אתה מחיי לחיים בחסד, מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים, סובב נופלים ורעולים ומציל אסורים, ומחיים אמונתו לשני עפר. וכמוך בעל גבורות ומידו מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצליח ישועה. מי כמוך אלה הרחמים, זוכר יצוריו לחיים ורחמים, ולמען נתן לך חיות מתים, ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי המתים.
Please be seated. In a moment, you're going to hear the words Unatana Tokef, page 174. And one of the unique things about our holidays is that often the melodies that we use feel a little bit different than they do throughout the course of the year. The point of synagogue architecture, synagogue music, the way seats are in synagogues, is to often make theological statements. And if you're sitting in circles, if you're sitting in places with a low ceiling, if you're singing participatory melodies, you are sending a message that God dwells in your midst, that God is immanent. But Judaism lives on this continuum between the immanent God and the transcendent God, the God who is here holding your hand and the very powerful God who is far away. And sometimes changing space, changing seating arrangements, those things help you to feel that moment of transcendence. But the single biggest way to do it is to change the melody. And thus I want to invite you to feel haunted, to get those goosebumps on your arms, to allow the music to wash over you. For when it does, it is a different experience of the divine than you would get almost any other time that you come here. Page 174.
מתוקף קדושת היום, כי הוא נורא ואיום, ובוא תנסה מליכותיך, ויקון בחסד כיסא עליו באמת. אמת, כי אתה הוא דיין ומוכיח יודע ואעד וחותם וסופר ומונה ותזכור כל הנשכחות ותפתח את ספר הזיכרונות ותפתח את ספר הזיכרונות ולעירה יקרא וחותם יד כל אדם בו ובשופר גדול ייתקע וכל דממה דקה יישמע ומלאכים יחפזון וחיל ורעדה יוחזון ויאמרו הנה יום הדין לפקוד על צבא מרום פדין כי לא יזכו פניך בדין וכל העולם יעברו לפניך כבני מרום כבקרת רואה דרו מעביר צונו תחת שבטו כן תעביר ותספור ותמנה ותפקוד נפש כל חי ותחתוך קצבה לכל בהירה ותכתוב את גזר דינה.
Page 178.
בראש השנה ייכתבו וביום צום כיפור יחתמו בראש השנה ייכתבו וביום צום כיפור יחתמו כמה יעבורון וכמה יבראון מי יחיה ומי ימות מי וקיצו ומי לא וקיצו בראש השנה ייכתבו וביום צום כיפור יחתמו בראש השנה ייכתבו
בראש כיפור ייכתבו
מי ואיש ומי ומים מי וחרב ומי וחיה מי ורב ומי וצמא
בראש השנה ייכתבו וביום צום כיפור יחתמו בראש השנה ייכתבו וביום צום כיפור יחתמו
מי רעש ומי במגפה, מי בקריקה ומי בסקילה, מי ינוח ומי ינוע.
בראש השנה יקצרו, וביום צום כיפור יחצרו. בראש השנה יקצרו, וביום צום כיפור יחצרו.
מי ישקיט ומי יטורף, מי ישלב ומי יתייסר, מי יעני ומי ישיר, מי יושפל ומי ירום.
On Rosh Hashanah, we plunge like swimmers into a sea of words. On Yom Kippur, the sea rises, then crests, and we emerge, sealed by the wax, warmed by the fire of braided candle. The new year is like a trailhead opening wide before us. The day of fasting, narrow, breathless, so quick to close. We contemplate a new year, and this we know. Some of us will live, and some of us will die. Some will die young, and some very old, some by water, and some by fire, some by sword, and some by beast, some by hunger, and some by thirst, some by plague, and some by earthquake, some by stoning, and some by strangling. Some of us will feel at ease, some will be restless, some will have peace of mind, some will have strife, some will be tranquil, some will be tormented, some will be raised high, some will be brought low, some will have riches, some will be impoverished. Even so, the way we act, the way we speak, the way we meet God's image in ourselves and in others, these things have great power to make our lives matter. Therefore, let us make whole the broken shards, green and thick the withering grass. Let the wind fill us with the urgency for life. Let dreams give birth to justice and goodness. God of holiness, God of hope, let us glimpse your truth as we attach our hope to yours.
Page 180.
ותשובה ותפילה וצדקה, מעבירים את רוע הגזרה. כי כשמך שליחות ונוח לרצות, כי לא תחפוץ במות המת, כי אם בשובו מדרכו וחיה ועד יום מותו תחכה לו, אם ישוב מיד תקבלו. אמת כי אתה הוא יותרם ויודע יתרם, כי בשר ודם.
Page 182.
We who are mortal, our origin is dust, and so is our end. We wear out our lives to get our bread, like broken vessels, like withered grass, like a flower that must fade, a shadow moving on, a cloud passing by, mere dust on the wind, a dream that flies away. But for you, ever-living sovereign, time has no limits. Your presence, unbounded by days and years, is everywhere, a glorious mystery none can decipher. Your name is worthy of you, and you are worthy of your name, and our name you have linked with yours.
And again, if you're able, I'll invite you to rise as we join together page 184.
מקדש את שמך בעולם, כי שם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב על יד נביאך, וקרא זה ויאמר, קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוך הארץ כבודו. אדיר אדירנו, אדוני אדוננו, אדיר שמך בכל הארץ, ברוך כבוד אדוני במקומו. אחד הוא אלוהינו, הוא אבינו מלכנו, הוא מושיענו והוא ישמיענו, ברחמיו לעיני כל חי. אני אלוהינו אלוהים, ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהי ציון, לדור ודור. הללויה, לדור ודור,
Door by door,
לדור ודור,
door by door,
לדור ודור להגילו לך, לדור ודור,
door by door,
לדור ודור,
door by door.
לדור ודור להגילו לך, ולנצחים, ולנצח נצחים, קדושך, קדושך נקדיש. ולנצחים, ולנצח נצחים, קדושך, קדושך נקדיש.
Let's hear you.
לדור ודור,
Door by door,
לדור ודור,
door by door,
לדור ודור נגידו לך, לדור ודור,
door by door,
לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגידו לך, המשיחו אלוהינו, נביאנו ימוש לעולם, לעולם בואי. משיחו אלוהינו, נביאנו ימוש לעולם, לעולם ועד, כי אל מלך גדול וקדוש אתה.
page 187.
Please pray responsively. Holy is the dignity that is human, sacred the mystery we call divine.
Holy is the sacrifice made for those we love, precious the pains they take for us.
Sublime the glory of the heavens above us, sacred the beauty that glows within us.
Noble is the mind in search for meaning, the heart is happy that finds its way.
Awesome is the power that rules our being, holy the kinship that makes us one.
Page 192.
You are holy, your name is awe. There is nothing divine but you. As the prophet Isaiah taught, the source of all might is exalted through justice, the God of holiness made holy through righteousness.
קדוש, קדוש אתה, ונורא שמך. ומשפט. והאל הקדוש נקדש בצדקו. ברוך אתה
Please be seated. We turn together to page 201.
May all be moved to serve you, praise your presence, bless your name, your splendor and your justice, sea and land then proclaim. Let us seek your face at sunrise, in the darkness, teach your ways. May your power and uniqueness be the essence of our days, when we speak about your glory, when we praise you for your might. Those who hear will feel your presence turn from darkness to the light. Let sea coasts burst exultant, hills embrace you with joyful sounds. When all people sing together, the world shall see your sovereign crown.
In a moment, we're going to turn to page 202. And as we join together in what is called the Great Aleinu, I'll invite anyone who wants to fully go down in prostration. The idea is that at the High Holy Days, we're supposed to humble ourselves through God. It's a spiritual practice. And if this is something you've never tried before, I want to invite you, if you want to try it, to move over to the aisles and to try. And so as we open up our ark, I also want to say, I normally don't mention anything about those who have honors, because everyone who has an honor at some point throughout the year has given something tremendous to our congregation. But to open our ark, I want to call up David Amlin and Sherry Kagan Amlin. Everything you hear in this sound system is a product of the hard work of a team headed up by David, who sourced everything, who found our technicians, and because of him, we have the sound that we do today. And so I want to rise together, page 202.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולו ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמענו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
You may be seated. We're on page 205.
Dwell on each sound of the shofar. Contemplate its meaning. Tikiya, one whole note. Shevarim trua, 3 broken notes. 9 staccato notes. Tikia, 1 whole note. My return to the right path has the power to make me whole again. Tikia, once I was whole. Shevarim trua, in the wear and tear of living, I became broken and shattered. Tikia, my teshuvah has the power to make me whole again.
Once again, I'll invite, if you're able, everyone to rise, page 206, as we hear the next sounding of our shofar.
ברוך אתה, אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר קידשנו במצוותיו, וציוונו לשמוע קול שופר.
Amen.
תקיע. שברים תרועה. Tekiah, Tekiah, Shvarim, Tekiah, Tekiah, Teruah, Tekiah. הרשת צבתנו ירה מלפניך, אל רם רם בניסה. הרשת צבתנו ירה לפניך, אל רם רם בניסה. מבין ומאזין, מביט ומקשיב לכל תקייתנו, ותקבל ברחמים וברצון סדר מלכויותינו.
Hayom Harat Olam. Today the world is born anew. This day the whole of creation stands before you to be judged. As we are your children, love us in the way of mothers and fathers. As we are yours in service, guide us by the light of your justice, grace, and holiness. We'll continue in private prayer from page 208 through page 220.
ושפתיים מדבר מרמה, ולים כללי נפשי תדום, ונפשי כעפר לכל תהיה. אלוהי, אלוהי, אלוהי נצור לשוני מרע, ושפתיים מדבר מרמה, ולים כללי נפשי תדום, ונפשי כעפר לכל תהיה. אלוהי, אלוהי, אלוהי נצור לשוני מרע, ושפתיים מדבר מרמה, ולים כללי נפשי תדום, ונפשי כעפר לכל תהיה. אלוהי, אלוהי, פתח ליבי, פתח ליבי, פתח ליבי, בתורתך נצור לשוני מרע, ושפתיים מדבר מרמה, ולים כללי נפשי תדום, ונפשי כעפר לכל תהיה. אלוהי, אלוהי, אלוהי נצור לשוני מרע, ושפתיים ידבר מרמה, ולים כללי נפשי תדום, ונפשי כעפר לכל תהיה. אלוהי, אלוהי, יהיו לי רצון אמרי פי, והגיון ליבי לפניך. אדוני, אדוני, אדוני צורי, אדוני צורי,
We turn together to page 224. And again, if you're able, I'll invite you to rise as we join together in one of the most famous of our prayers of our holiday season, Avinu Malkeinu, God who is close like a parent and far like a sovereign. Page 224. Avinu Malkeinu, we stand in awe, we draw close in love. Avinu Malkeinu, the power that passes through us and pervades all things. Avinu Malkeinu, the divine that is present within and among us.
Avinu Malkeinu, Shema Koleinu.
Together, we speak this sacred truth aloud.
Avinu Malkeinu, Chatanu Lifanecha.
We stand as one accountable for our sins.
Avinu Malkeinu, Chamol Aleinu ve'al Olaleinu v'tapeinu.
We yearn for true compassion for our children most of all.
אבינו מלכנו כלידר ובחרב ורב ויהי עלינו.
May we resist the ravages of illness, fear, and despair.
אבינו מלכנו כלי כל צר ומסטין מעלינו.
Let us summon courage to withstand our enemies.
אבינו מלכנו כותבנו בספר חיים טובים.
Let the goodness of this gift of life be engraved upon our hearts.
אבינו מלכנו חדש עלינו שנה טובה.
Let us wake of each day.
אבינו מלכנו מלא ידינו מברכותיך.
Let us wake up to the blessing already in our grasp.
אבינו מלכנו חוננו ועננו כי אין בנו מעשים עשה עמנו צדקה וחסד והושיענו.
However small our deeds, let us see their power to heal. May we save lives through compassion, generosity, and justice.
אבינו מלכנו חננו עלינו. אבינו מלכנו חננו עלינו כי אין בנו מעשים עשה עמנו צדקה
Standing as we move into Seder Kriyat HaTorah to the reading of our Torah, page 226. We are the people of the book. Through fire and mud and dust, we have borne our scrolls tenderly as a baby swaddled in a blanket, traveling with our words sewn in our clothes and carried on our backs. Let us take up the scroll of Torah and dance with it and touch it and read it out. For the mind touches the word and makes it light. So does light enter us, and we shine.
אין כמוך באלוהים אדוני ואין כמעשיך מלכותך מלכות כל עולמים וממשלתך בכל דור ודור. אדוני מלך אדוני מלך אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. אדוני עוז לעמו ייתן אדוני יברך את עמו בשלום. אב הרחמים היטיב
לשבת בבקשה.
So, we're going to be, if you want to follow along, we're going to be on page 240. And later, after we read Torah and we read Haftarah and we put our Torah away, I'm going to be leading a discussion. And one of the beautiful things about the second day is that all our voices get a chance to be heard. Rather than a sermon on my part, I've made a text study and I want to talk about one interesting difference between yesterday's Torah reading and today's Torah reading. So I'm going to kind of spell out what each one is, and I want you, over the course of listening to our Torah being read, think about what you think the kind of fundamental differences between these two readings, and then I'll present what I think, and then we'll have a conversation about that. So yesterday's Torah portion probably exists because Isaac is born in it. But the truth is, the majority of the portion is actually a story about Abraham who had another child named Ishmael. And after his wife Sarah gets jealous of the attention that Ishmael is getting and who Ishmael is, Ishmael and his mother Hagar get cast out into the wilderness. And the majority of the story is actually about what happens with Hagar and Ishmael when they're in that wilderness and the aftermath of that era. Today's portion is perhaps the most famous portion in our whole Torah. It's called the binding of Isaac, Akidat Yitzchak. And it deals, and you'll read along with God who comes to Abraham and says, Abraham, sacrifice your son on top of Mount Moriah. And Abraham listens and takes Isaac up to the top of the mountain, getting ready to sacrifice him for God, only at the 11th hour to have God send an angel down to stay his hand, to stop him as he's holding the knife. Abraham then gets a blessing, and it becomes, for basically the Jewish people for 3,000 years, the most complicated and challenging portion in the whole Torah, which is part of the reason I think that we read it during the High Holy Days, but also because it allows us to argue and wrestle and ask questions, which is fundamentally Jewish. And so I want to invite us, as we're reading along, to think, and you can even, if you want, flip back and forth between the two stories about kind of what's the difference between Genesis chapter 21 and Genesis chapter 22. So we're going to read our Torah. We have a series of people coming up to read our Torah and also to bless. And so I want to call, as I do each High Holy Days, Robert Rich up, who will be our Gabbai today.
Yamod Rishon Nami V'chaim Raki Ya'amod Balat Tamod Balat Akriya Chana Bat Shalom Va'alta Rachel Lori Price Abrams.
Take your tzitzi, please.
ברכו את אדוני המבורך. ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד. ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר בחר בנו מכל העמים ונתן לנו את תורתו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה. אמן. ויחי אחר הדברים האלה והאלוהים נישא את אברהם ויאמר אליו אברהם ויאמר הנני ויאמר קח נא את בנך את יחידך אשר אהבת את יצחק ולך לך אל ארץ המוריה והעלהו שם לעולה על אחד ההרים אשר אומר אליך וישכם אברהם בבוקר ויחבוש את חמורו ויקח את שני נעריו איתו ואת יצחק בנו ויבקע עצי עולה ויקום וילך אל המקום אשר אמר לו האלוהים.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת וחיי עולם נטע בתוכנו ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה
Amen. Ya'amod Sheni, David Ben George Herb Purton, Ya'amod Bal Hakriya, Chaim Ben Benjamin, Varachel, Rick Abrams.
Baruch hu et Adonai hamvarach. Baruch Adonai hamvarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol hamim v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Bayom HaShlishi, Vayisa Avraham et Einav, Vayaret HaMakom merachok, Vayomer Avraham el Narav, Shvu lachem po im hachamor, Vani v'hana'ar necha ad ko, V'nishtachaveh v'nashuva alechem. ויקח אברהם את עצי עולה וישם על יצחק בנו ויקח בידו את האש ואת המאכלת וילכו שניהם יחדיו ויאמר יצחק אל אברהם אביו ויאמר אבי ויאמר הנני בני ויאמר הנה האש והעצים ויעשה לעולה ויאמר אברהם אלוהים יראה לו עשה לעולה בני וילכו שניהם יחדיו.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Ephraim Ben Wolf, Varachel Leah, Fred Pressman, Tamod Balat Hakriya, Esther Razel, Bat Avraham Hirsch, Vasara, Ronnie Pressman.
So as we're seeking to find our place in our Torah,
where are we in this story? So God has just called Abraham. Abraham has traveled with his son and with two different servants, and they are now ready to go to the place where God has said. And in this portion, what we're about to read, Isaac is going to bear the wood on his back, and he's going to start marching up to the top of the mountain. But I heard an interesting teaching this morning. We got it? Which will be the basis for next year's discussion.
Baruch Hu et Adonai Hambarach.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam, asher bochar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai noten ha'Torah.
Amen. Vayavo el hamakom asher amalo Elohim. Vayiven sham Avraham et hamizbeach v'ya'aroch et ha'itzim vayikod et Yitzchak beno vayasem oto al hamizbeach mimal ha'itzim. Vayishlach Avraham et yado, vayikach et hama'achelet, lishchot et beno. Vayikra elav, malach Adonai, min hashamayim, vayomer Avraham, Avraham, vayomer hineni. Vayomer al tishlach yadecha el hanar ve'al ta'as lo me'uma ki ata yadati ki yireh Elohim ata ve'lo chasakta et bincha et yichidecha mimeni.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam, asher natan lanu torat emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tuchenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Yamod, Revi'i, Ephraim ben Gedalia, Vanessa, Larry Westreich, Talmud Balat Hakriya, Elisheva bat Eliu, Lisa Westreich.
Baruch Adonai Hamavarach. Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Leolam Vaed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam, Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amim, V'natan Lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. Vayisav et einav, vayar v'hinei hayel achar ne'echaz basvach bekarnav. Vayelach Avraham, vayikach et hayel v'yalehu le'ola tachat beno. Vayikra Avraham, Shem hamakom hahu Adonai yireh. Asher ye'amer hayom behar Adonai yireh. Vayikra malach Adonai el Avraham, Shenit min hashamayim.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata betochenu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Ya'amod Hamishi Rav Meir Simcha ben Rav Zelik V'Shena Yehudis Chaya Sarah bat Rav Meir Simcha V'Esther Chaim ben Shmuel Yosef V'Esther Rabbi Martin Rosenberg, Karen Rosenberg, and Doug Berman. Ya'amod Baal HaKriya Shmuel ben Melech V'Chana Stephen Lee.
Adonai Hamvarach Olam Vaed Baruch Atah Vaed Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Natan Lanu Torah Emet V'chayei Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. Vayomer binishpati ne'um Adonai ki yan asher asita et hadavar hazeh velo hashachta et binecha et yihidecha ki barecha varechecha v'harba arbe et zaracha kekokvei hashamayim v'kacho asher al sefat hayam vayirash zaracha et sha'ar oivav v'hitbarachu v'zaracha kol goyei haaretz ekev asher shamahata bekoli vayashav Avraham el na'arav vayikumu vayelchu yachdav et bever shava vayeshev Avraham bever shava.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Amen.
We turn to page 244 as we have the opportunity while our Torah is out for the Mishaberach, the prayer for healing. May the one who brought blessings to our fathers Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and to our mothers Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bring the blessing of health to all who are ill. And I look around the room and I'll ask you to please add names to this Mishaberach. We join together on page 245. Mishaberach avotenu Avraham, Yitzchak, v'Yaakov. Mishaberach imotenu, Sarah, Rivka, Leah, v'Rachel. May the one who blessed our mothers, may the one who blessed our fathers, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, and bless us as one. Bless us with the power of your healing. Bless us with the power of your hope. May our hearts be filled with understanding and strengthened by the power of your love. Mishaberach Avotenu, Avraham, Yitzchak, v'Yaakov. Mishaberach imotenu, Sarah, Rivka, Leah, v'Rachel. May the one who blessed our mothers, may the one who blessed our fathers, hear our prayer, 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 and bless us as one.
We're going to turn forward in our prayer books to page 246 as we prepare to lift and dress our Torah. If you're able, I'll invite you to rise.
וזאת התורה אשר שם משה לפני בני ישראל על פי אדוני ביד משה. ישמחו השמיים, השמיים, ישמחו השמיים, השמיים, ישמחו השמיים, ותגל הארץ. ירמיה, 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 ומלואו. ירמיה, 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 ומלואן.
So we move from our Torah into our Haftarah, and you can find the words to the Haftarah on page 256. And so, to bless our Haftarah, I want to call up Aaron Ackerman, and to read the English, Lauren Schneider. We are right now in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 31. And Jeremiah is often known as the prophet who is the most doom and gloom of these prophets, the one who is going to tell us that we're doing wrong and that we need to change our ways. But you'll find that even in the midst of the pain that you find in this portion, you also find a little bit of hope. Because within his teachings, the prophet Jeremiah also implores us that we should not lose hope, and that in a world that often seems dark, there is a light.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'nviim tovim v'ritza v'divreihem hane'emarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai aboker b'Torah uv'Moshe avdo uv'Yisrael amo uv'Viviei ha'emet v'tzedek.
Thus said the Eternal, a voice is heard in Ramah, wailing, bitter weeping, Rachel weeping for her children, refusing to be comforted for her children, for they are gone. Thus said the Eternal, keep your voice from weeping, and your eyes from tears, for your labor shall have its reward, declares the Eternal. They shall return from the enemy's land, and there is hope for your future, declares the Eternal. Your children shall return to their land. How I hear Ephraim lamenting, you have disciplined me like a wild calf. I have been disciplined. Help me return, and I will return. For you are my eternal God. Now that I have turned back, I am filled with sorrow. Now that I am made aware, I strike my thigh in remorse, ashamed and humiliated. I carry the disgrace of my early life. Truly, Ephraim is my precious child, my delight. And though I speak against him, I remember him with tenderness. That is why my heart yearns for him. I will receive him back in love, declares the Eternal.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Sor kol ha'olamim, Tzadik b'kol hadoro, Ha'el ha'ne'eman, Va'omer v'yoseh, Hamdaber u'mkayem, Shechol devarav emet v'tzedek, Al ha'torah, v'al ha'avodah, v'al hanviim, v'al yom hazikaron hazeh, Shenatata lanu, Adonai Eloheinu, L'chavod u'tifaret. Al hakol, Adonai Eloheinu, Anachnu modim lach, u'mbachim otah, Yitbarach shimcha b'fi kol chai, Tamid le'olam va'ed, U'varach emet v'kayam le'ad. Baruch atah Adonai, Melech al kol ha'oretz, Mekadesh Yisrael v'yom hazikaron.
Amen. And so with our Torah out, we sound our shofar again. And so I'm going to invite us to turn to page 267. Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, zochrenu b'zicharon tov lefanecha. God of remembrance, remember the covenant of our ancestors. We reaffirm it today. Remember, we are a people of noble ideals. Help us to attain them. Remember all your people, all the nations on the road to peace. Bless their efforts. Remember with mercy the binding of Isaac, the sorrow of Sarah, Abraham's words, Hineni, here I am. Our memory fades, but you remember all that we have forgotten. Your presence is a throne where all things matter and nothing is lost. Baruch atah Adonai zocher habrit. Together, blessed are you, Adonai. You remember the covenant. You remember us. If there's any kids here, I want to invite you up. You'll do our calls right now. So anybody who is under bar or bat mitzvah age, come on up. Come on up.
I'm talking to you. Yes, and Benny.
All right. So come right up to the Vimon.
Hi. How are you?
Come over to my side. Come on over here.
Go to. Oops, sorry.
So I'm going to give you guys the cues. You're going to call, okay?
Tekiah.
Shvarim Trua.
Shivarim Trua. Tekiah. Tekiah. Shvarim. Tekiah. Tekiah. Teruah. Tekiah.
Please be seated.
הרשת בתינו ירב לפניך אל רם בניסה הרשת בתינו ירב לפניך אל רם בניסה מבין ומחזיר מביט ומקשיב לכל תיקחתנו ותקבל ברחמים וברצון סדר זיכרונותינו.
Hayom Harat Olam, today the world is born anew. This day the whole creation stands before you to be judged. As we are your children, love us in the way of mothers and fathers. As we are yours in service, guide us by the light of your justice, grace, and holiness. We turn to page 272 and then follow along further on 274 as we bless our country and the state of Israel. And why don't we rise for this too?
God of holiness, we hear your message. Justice, justice, you shall pursue. God of freedom, we hear your charge. Proclaim liberty throughout the land. Inspire us through your teachings and commandments to love and uphold our precious democracy. Let every citizen take responsibility for the rights and freedoms we cherish. Let each of us be an advocate for justice, an activist for liberty, a defender of dignity. And let us champion the values that make our nation a haven for the persecuted, a beacon of hope among the nations. May our actions reflect compassion for all people, within our borders and abroad. May our leaders and officials embody the visions of our founders to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. We pray for courage and conscience as we aim to support our country's highest values and aspirations. The hard-won rights that define us as a people, the responsibilities that they entail. We pray for all who serve our country with selfless devotion in peace and in war, from fields of battle to clinics and classrooms, from government to the grassroots, and all those whose noble deeds and sacrifice benefit our nation and our world. We are grateful for the rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness that our founders ascribed to you, our Creator. We pray for their wisdom and moral strength, that we may be guardians of these rights for ourselves and for the sake of all people, now and forever.
Avinu, Avinu, שבשמיים, צור ישראל וגואלו. אבינו, אבינו, שבשמיים, צור ישראל וגואלו.
Avinu, you who are high above all nations, states, and peoples, Rock of Israel, the one who has saved us and preserved us in life, bless the state of Yisrael, first flowering of our redemption, be her loving shield, a shelter of lasting peace.
Guide her leaders and advisors by your light of truth. Instruct them with your good counsel. Strengthen the hands of those who build and protect our holy land. Deliver them from danger. Crown their efforts with success. Grant peace to the land, lasting joy to all of her people. And together we say,
Amen. We're going to remain standing, page 276, as we prepare to return our Torah to the Ark.
יחניו את שם אדוני, כי נשגב שמו לבדו. הודו על ארץ ושמיים, וירם קרן לימו, תהילה לכל חסידיו, לבני ישראל עם קרובו. הללויה, הללויה.
A precious teaching I have given you, my Torah, do not forsake it. A tree of life to those who hold it fast, all who embrace it know happiness. Its ways are ways of pleasantness, and all its paths are peace. Take us back, Adonai, let us come back to you. Renew in our time the days of old.
השיבנו, השיבנו, אדוני אליך, חודש, חודש, ימינו כקדם. חודש, ימינו
Please be seated. So as I mentioned before, we tend to have a discussion on the second day rather than a sermon. It's the custom of our congregation. And so I need a little bit of help maybe passing these out. I'll give these to different areas. And the question that we're going to have is kind of a pretty big question that we're going to be asking. And you will see shortly what that is. So here you go. I made about 200 copies, so my sense is maybe like 2 for every 3 people or something like that. As it goes around, so you're not going to need the text right away as I'm kind of setting it up. They'll eventually come around. So I asked you when we started talking about our Torah to think about what is a fundamental difference between Genesis chapter 21, right, the story of Isaac's birth, which really takes place in the desert for the most part with Hagar and Ishmael and what happens to them, and the second story, the one that we read today, Abraham and Isaac on top of Mount Moriah. And so rather than hear ideas, I want to just jump into where I see this kind of interesting tension. Because although the story on Genesis 21. And this is why it exists. It exists to build up tension, right? Isaac is born. That's very exciting. And then, before you know it, God is telling Isaac in the next chapter, God is telling Abraham in the next chapter to sacrifice his son. At the end of the day, the bulk of the chapter actually is a universal message. It deals with the progenitors of people who are not going to be the founders of the Jewish people. It is not our story. The story of Hagar and Ishmael is inherently the story of the other, and I think that's really important in telling what it means to be a Jew nowadays. And at the same time, Genesis chapter 22 is distinctly our story. I would say there is no text, potentially, more quintessentially Jewish than Genesis chapter 22. Not only because it elicits all of these arguments and thoughts, but also, if you think about it, right, it is our forebearer moving down the chain of tradition, moving down Lador Vador from generation to generation. It's Isaac, and eventually he gets blessed that his seed will multiply and that the Jewish people will be strong. It's one of the first kind of great blessings put onto the Jewish people when he's up there about to sacrifice his son, and God tells him that he's rewarded. So you find within the High Holy Days, everybody has it now? Good. You find within the High Holy Days this interesting tension between these two pieces of Judaism, which I would say are kind of the fundamental approaches to the world and are often reconcilable, but sometimes in tension. And they are universalism and particularism. And a group of people this year, actually, we read a book that challenged our notions in Reform Judaism of where we sit in that continuum. Because I'm just curious, based on your understanding of Reform Judaism and this synagogue, between particularism and universalism, and I'll define each one, right? Particularism is this understanding that Jews care about Jews. Jews care about us because we're part of the same family, just as you'd care about a cousin or a sibling. There's something innately special about putting all Jews together into a category, such that when you tell the story of Israel, you're going to spend a little bit more time talking about the Jewish narrative than you are about any other narrative, right? That you're going to spend time doing distinctly Jewish things, like rituals, like keeping kosher, like Shabbat, because those particularist elements are what separates out the Jewish tradition from the other traditions, right? But at the same time, we have universalist elements in our tradition. We are told, for example, that God creates one human being first, Adam, right? Not the first Jew, but the first human being. And in fact, there is a debate in our Talmud between two rabbis, Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Ben Azai. And Rabbi Akiva says, the most important line in the whole Torah is love your neighbor as yourself, from Leviticus chapter 19. V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. And Ben Azai, who actually converted to Judaism, says no, that's not the case. The most important line in all of Judaism is humanity was created in God's image. A neighbor is a little bit more particularist than a general universal understanding of humanity, right? You're going to love your neighbor, but you might not love someone who lives across the world from you. So love your neighbor as yourself is particularist. Every human being was created in God's image. That's universal. So that's what causes the Jewish people to go out, to be involved in the civil rights movement, to feed the hungry, to clothe the naked, to not ask what someone's religion is before you help them, but rather make it your mission of Tikkun Olam, making this world a better place, right? It's not Tikkun Yisrael. It's not making the Jewish people better. It's Tikkun Olam. It is helping the whole world around you. And Judaism lives in this continuum between one and the other. So just by a show of hands, when you kind of think about this congregation, which element do you think is louder than the other, right? Are we particularist or are we universal, right? What do you think? Raise your hand if you think we're particularist. I figured there would only be a few hands, right? Universal, what about universal? Now, it's interesting because we live in a world where being particularist is countercultural. And I love when religion is countercultural because it challenges our assumptions. But I have to say, the more that I sit with our 10th graders and I talk about the world, the more I realize that specifically the young people in our congregation struggle with any aspect of particularism, right? Because particularism is antithetical to this understanding of wide love that we all show into the world. So to be able to say to someone, for example, you know what, it's okay to love Israel as a Jewish state and let that be true for you at the same time as you think of Palestinians in Israel, that's actually a very hard thing for our young people to grasp. Same with the understanding that, you know what, like if you have some money and you're going to give it to a charity, the only people giving to Jewish charities are Jews. And so therefore, maybe you might not want to just look at what the best charity out there is to give, but weigh whether or not the charity is Jewish and potentially decide to give to them over an equal charity of a universal message. And that's something that I think in our culture, we struggle tremendously with being particularist. And so I wanted to spend a little bit of time kind of in conversation, looking at a few texts, and then hearing from you where you sit in this tension and how you navigate this tension. Because it is a very difficult tension. And the truth is, the rubber hits the road when it comes to resources, right? Do we spend time looking inward in our congregation, building community, having Shabbat dinners, like spending staff time, let's say, taking care of our hungry, right? Taking care of our people who are in mourning, making sure that we beef up our work of our Chesed committee, which is inherently particularist, right? It's us taking care of our own members if they're sick or in mourning. Or do we do our social action and social justice work, which although is good for our congregation, right, and good for our souls and builds connection, because when you pass out food in a soup kitchen, you're inherently caring about the people that you're volunteering alongside. At the end of the day, the mission of a soup kitchen is a universalist mission. And so let's take a look at kind of some of these tensions, right? And you can see the tradition struggling with this. This is a midrash that I actually discovered as I was prepping for this. The other three are very famous. This one's not. Said Rabbi Ishmael, the very night that Solomon, who was the third king of Israel, completed the construction of the temple in Israel, at the same time he marries Pharaoh's daughter. And the people of Jerusalem attend both celebrations. They attend the wedding and they attend the consecration of the temple, going from one to the other. But the rejoicing at the wedding ball, meaning this kind of like coming together of Jewish culture and Egyptian culture and this sense of openness to the whole world around, that celebration was bigger than the particular celebration of the temple being finished. And at that time, God thought, if they don't value the temple enough, I might as well destroy it. Now that's a vote in favor of which side? Particularist, right? Here's another one. Rabbi Simlai taught the Torah begins with deeds of loving kindness and it ends with deeds of loving kindness. It begins with deeds of loving kindness, as it's written, the very first action that we find that God does to humanity, right after God creates humanity, is that after they eat that fruit in the garden, God makes for Adam and his wife skins of clothing, meaning God clothes the naked, right? That is a what message? Universalist, right? Anytime you find the Garden of Eden, Jews are making a universal message there. However, it ends with a deed of loving kindness, as it says, God buried Moses in the land of Moab. That's the very final thing that Moses does in the Torah. Sorry, that God does in the Torah. Moses dies at 120, God buries him. The poor of one's household takes preference over the poor of one's city, and the poor of one's city take preference over the poor of other cities. What is that? Particularist. And then our rabbis taught, different part of the Talmud, we sustain the non-Jewish poor along with the Jewish poor. We visit the non-Jewish sick with the Jewish sick. We bury the non-Jewish dead with the Jewish dead for the sake of peace. That is universal. Now, I will say that at different times throughout history, Judaism ebbs and flows with its connection to the outside world. At times when persecution was high, what do you think we did? we turned inward, right? We became particularist. At times when there was openness and we interacted with other societies, which, as much as I talked yesterday about anti-Semitism, the truth is, right, like this era, right, the post-Holocaust era in America has never been better for the Jewish people. And so clearly when things are good, you're going to turn outward. And that's when you end up with universalist elements. And because the kind of society that we live in, I'll say kind of the Montclair, Glen Ridge, New Jersey ethos that we live in is itself a universalist ethos, we tend to weigh pieces of universalism higher than we tend to weigh pieces of particularism. However, they both exist in Judaism. And funny enough, if you read the Talmud skews more particularist than universalist because they were living under Roman persecution at the time, right? And so, as you look toward kind of ways of behavior, I kind of want to open this up and ask you, how do you navigate this tension between universalism and particularism? Because as you're living your Jewish life, you have to imagine you've got a menu of things in front of you, right? And a limited amount of time. Are you going to spend your time looking inward in our community, visiting the sick, coming to Shabbat services, serving on parent committees to your kids' religious school, which is all particularist. It's about us as Jews and our community. Or do you take your Judaism and look outward at that moment and do tikkun olam, feed the hungry, clothe the naked, those types of things. So for the first time ever, we have a wireless mic. I want to make sure everyone can hear, and so I guess I'll do the Phil Donahue thing. All right.
Thanks. So with reference, even, Rabbi, to your words yesterday when you taught, it was very much of how being engaged in the world is actually good for Jews. So I think sometimes in doing the outward work, it's got a particularist benefit alongside the general, the universal one, in that it's enlightened self-interest that we are good to others in the world because those benefits will come back to us in many ways.
Okay, good. Oh, well, next comment right next to you. Okay.
And I always go back, though, to the line that Hillel says, if I'm not for myself, who will be for me? But if I'm only for myself, what am I? So in other words, like, first you have to put your air mask on before you fix someone else's air mask. I think there's something about, like we have to look toward ourselves first, and then we can look out on the outside.
Okay, good. Others?
I think on a case-by-case basis, you can do both, depending on your own personal inclination at the moment, and a lot of it is situational. If there's a hurricane and people are suffering, you reach out. But if you get a letter from Mazon looking for contributions, you do that also.
Okay. So it's also like one way that you weigh is like what has the greatest need. And by the way, that's a conversation that exists in our Talmud, right? 2,000 years ago, right around the same time where it's talking about the precedents, like which is more important, right? Your townspeople or townspeople around you. It does say that, look, if your townspeople don't need a lot of help and someone else needs a lot of help, then actually you're going to give that person who needs a lot of help more help, even if they're not the one who's, next of kin or closest to you in that particular moment.
Okay, thanks. I discovered at home a 1927 journal of Bialystocka immigrants that my grandfather helped found in 1902. And there were two things that were going on. The Landsmannschaften, one of them was their gathering together was based on making sure that they had the proper cemetery and everybody was buried in the proper way. But the other thing that we don't that I didn't realize as I read through it in Yiddish, got a translation, was that their whole purpose was to reach out to the community of people who were coming over from Bialystok during that time frame as immigrants to the United States and who were poor. And the whole idea was to take care of those immigrants from Bialystok in America, New York City and Newark, where they eventually lived, And so I think you roll your own first, you take care of your own first, and then you can go out and take care of others. That saying, whether it's Jewish or not, charity begins at home, I think it's very legitimate and very particular. Let's do what we got to do first, and then we'll go out and take care of others. First things first, guys.
All right. So, any other responses? Michelle also has a microphone. So why does Michelle go to somebody over there?
So I'm going to disagree with Stan a little bit. It's clear that because we're surrounded by our own, we're going to take care of our own. As a mother, as a congregational member, we see it, we feel it, we touch it, and we address it. But I agree with Rick, Hillel got it right. If we're not for other people, what are we? And it takes more discipline and more awareness to be for people who are across the world. And if we don't do it, we diminish who we are, and we become a little, we just diminish who we are. I don't know how to say it better, because we are not connected to a whole world. And if we don't repair the world as we're seeing in our current society, we will have no world.
Okay.
I sometimes try and bridge this. Like when I hear that there's something awful going on in the world, I see if there's a major Jewish organization that's helping out with it, like AJWS, or I forget the name of the one that's been helping in Greece with the refugees that land there, and try and do that, because it's good to know that these Jewish organizations are out there helping other parts of the world. And kind of like Laurie said, maybe it would reverberate if people actually specifically know that Jews are helping that way.
Good. Why don't we have two final comments? So we'll go with Jody and then Kent.
I guess I'm really struck on the first line of the handout where you defined the Hagar Ishmael story as a universalist story with minor Jewish characters. Because to me, I'm so stuck on that story, right? This is like the cause of so many problems, particularly in Israel. But it seems to me that's where particularism begins, is by the casting out of part of the family, right? And so it's just interesting to me. Obviously, I think as everyone's talking about it, there's these circles, your closeness, your family, your extended family, your community, whatever. Where is the neighbor? Where is across the world? But here's the place where the Torah says, oh, we have to divide, we have other, and then creates this whole idea of enemies and difference and particularism that, even just creates this paradigm, and so much of that paradigm has been so difficult and negative. It's just interesting to me that I imagine even without that casting out, there'd still be people closer to you, people farther away. But here's this very official statement of this, Isaac's line is us and Ishmael's line is the other. And it's so problematic. I don't know, I'm just so stuck on that.
Yeah, it becomes, in a way, part of setting up a dichotomy is that it's never going to be perfect. But you're right, and you're very much right in the sense that the main characters of Genesis 21 are not part of the Jewish people, but it also has a particular element woven within that story as well.
My observation relates to the fact that the most important issue facing us as Jews, the most important issue facing the world and its existence today, is for me climate change, and what we as Jews are doing about it. I don't know. I have to find organizations to participate in, and certainly that's universal. We're not going to take care of our own river without taking care of the other river. We're not going to take care of Alaska without taking care of Greenland. And so for me, this is, of its very nature, is a universal issue.
Good. And look, I mean, part of the challenge is there is a Jewish organization that is really wonderful about environmental issues. It's called Hazon. Hazon is great, but Hazon is not as good as 350.org or some of the other environmental organizations that are universalists. And so as you're trying to figure out who to engage with, that is actually a tension, you know? Do you engage with a Jewish organization that actually may not be as effective as some of the secular organizations at the same time?
Like anything, the answer is usually in the gray area, not black or white. But in listening to the conversation, I'm reminded of how much we pay attention to when people in our history have paid attention to us or have not. In other words, we call them righteous when they housed us during the Holocaust. And so much so that in popular culture, we hear about the Japanese Schindler, the Norwegian Schindler, in books and in movies.
Mm-hmm.
And we also note when countries did not pay attention to us. So that notion of reaching out to the other, we both take pride in it and want to do it to the others, but it's also inbred in us when it's happened or not happened to us.
Good.
I was very surprised when everyone said that we were a universalist synagogue. I sort of believe the exact opposite, which is that if you think of others and give things and do things unquestioningly and in a actual and do difficult things, then you actually are really the most Jewish you can possibly be. So I don't think you can take care of each other, one another, unless you take care of everything else. I don't think it necessarily has to be across the world or animals, but it could be for people or causes, and it sort of helps us think about what other people think and how they live their lives.
Good. So many hands. I think this is going to be our last comment just because we do have to move on. But then we can talk after, you can talk during, we have lunch afterwards, and so talk during lunch. But I guess the makings of a good conversation is that we don't want it to stop.
I'm going to do the lawyer thing and try to end the controversy.
Yeah.
Look, we could all be home praying by ourselves, but we're not. And you don't have to have 10 people to say a prayer, but Judaism encourages a minyan.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the reason that's the case is because you can't really be a great universalist unless you have a community upon which to rest. And so if you don't pay some attention to yourselves and to the people around you who believe sort of what you believe and who share the ideals that you share, your effectiveness as a universalist and your bandwidth and your resources are inevitably diminished, as is your effectiveness.
Good. So what I want to kind of encourage us to do is to complicate our own narratives, right? I would say like my number one job here as a rabbi is to try to help you question your own assumptions. And so I have to say that if you take it too far in either direction, that's a problem, right? I gave, by the way, just for your own perusing, I thought it was interesting. I grabbed 3 different Orthodox thinkers who are trying to figure out the challenges of this. On the most extreme, on the kind of universalist side, you find Rav Kook, who says, look, love of Israel entails a love for all humanity, which means you can't be Jewish unless you have universalist elements to Judaism, right? If you're just particularist, you're not doing Judaism right. Then you find Soloveitchik, who's I would say like the most on the particularist side, but you watch as they're trying to navigate these. But what I'll say is, I've had conversations in the past where really one of the deep questions that we need to ask ourselves is, why bother with this Jewish thing at all, right? And if you are too universalist without any particularist elements, you don't really even need to come here. Because, if Judaism is simply doing good in the world, then actually you're wasting your time sitting here praying. You should be in soup kitchens, and you should be clothing the naked, feeding the hungry, doing all of that, right? To universalism, you lose the Jewish element at all, right? To particularist, you lose sight of the general reason why you're doing things. So therefore, when you pray, and you say Yotzer Or, which we said this morning, which thanks God for, the beauty of nature, if you're not then going out and caring about nature, and prayer isn't making you care about the natural world a little bit more, which is the air everyone breathes and the water everyone drinks, then why bother at the same time doing the hard work of Judaism? Because the legal pieces of Judaism are supposed to be a training ground for your character that is supposed to help the world be better. And so what happens is, if you fall too much on either end, universalism makes sense, but particularism as well, it almost makes Judaism itself irrelevant. Judaism lives in the relevancy between those two poles. And so if you find yourself swinging one way or the other, the question is, can I challenge my assumptions and figure out, if I am a holy universalist, how I might add in some really beautiful particularist elements to Judaism? And if I'm a particularist, how to make what I do inside these walls feel like they echo and resonate outside. And so that is a challenge that I want to give every single one of you this year moving forward. And so, thank you, everyone. And we're going to move now.
We're not moving really yet.
Oh, yes, there is.
We're not moving yet because in order to get from wherever you've been to wherever you want to go, for what I hear is the seeking of balance, you have to find the bridge. And the bridge is me'od me'od, tsar me'od. It's really, really narrow sometimes. And you really don't know whether you're going to make it. But another Jewish voice teaches, you got to walk on the bridge anyway. And even though you're afraid, still know that in order to get from here to there, you have to take the first step. Thank you.
כל העולם כולו גשר צר מאוד, והעיקר לא לפחד כלל. לכל העולם כולו גשר צר מאוד, והעיקר לא לפחד כלל.
All the world is a very narrow bridge, but the most important thing is not to be afraid. All the world is a very narrow bridge, but the most important thing is not to be afraid. To my left and to my right, the jaws of the abyss, by its twinkling teeth I chart my course. Fear singing in my ear, to my left and to my right, the jaws of the abyss, by its twinkling teeth I chart my course. Fear singing in my ear, all to my left and to my right, narrow. The jaws of the abyss, by its twinkling teeth I chart my course. Fear singing in my ear, to my left and to my right, the jaws of the abyss, by its twinkling teeth I chart my course. Fear singing in my ear, how can I be safe on a narrow bridge? How can I be strong till the day I die? How can I be safe on a narrow bridge? How can I be strong till the day I die?
Don't look down,
keep going.
Don't look down,
keep growing.
Don't look down,
keep moving. Don't look down,
keep going.
Don't look down,
keep growing.
Don't look down, keep moving. To my left and to my right, the jaws of the abyss, by its twinkling teeth I chart my course. Fear singing in my ear, to my left and to my right, the jaws of the abyss, by its twinkling teeth, I charge my course. Fear singing in my ears. How can I be safe on a narrow bridge? How can I be strong till the day I die? How can I be safe on a narrow bridge? How can I be strong till the day I die?
Don't look down.
Keep going.
Don't look down.
Keep growing.
Don't look down.
Keep moving. Don't look down.
Keep going.
Don't look down.
Keep growing.
Don't look down. Keep moving. Don't look down.
Keep going.
Don't look down.
Keep growing.
Don't look down. Keep moving. Don't look down.
Keep going.
Don't look down.
Keep growing.
Don't look down. Keep moving.
כל העולם כולו גשר.
So we're going to move now into our final of our shofar services. And so we're going to turn to page 284. And I want to invite us all to rise.
תקיע שברים תרועה תקיע תקיע שברים תקיע תקיע תרועה תקיע גדולה שכח. Ed. שכח. הרשת צוותנו ירב לפניך אל רם וניסה הרשת צוותנו ירב לפניך אל רם וניסה מבין ומחזיר מביט ומקשיב לכל תקינתנו ותקבל ברחמים וברצון סדר שופרותינו.
We remain standing, page 286 for Elena.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי ארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
page 289. We're seated together.
ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו
As we move into our concluding prayer, our mourner's Kaddish, and we remember those who we have loved and we have lost, just a few logistical announcements. The first is that following services, I'll invite you to stay in your seat as we make motzi, and then directly afterwards, we can head right into our chapel meeting room area. There's enough food for everyone for our second day lunch. And so I want to thank Wendy Grossman, who really did all the work in putting this together. Plus, I mentioned she had some volunteers and a team of people who helped her to do this. And so if those are you, we want to say thank you as well. And we hope you get a chance over the course of our moments after services to meet someone new and to build community, because that particular style bit, knowing that there are people in a building who care about you, who love you, who will show up for you, that, I think, more than anything else, is the essence of Judaism. And so we also think of those who we have loved and who we showed up for and who showed up for us that are no longer on this earth. And so as I call each category of mourning, I'll invite you to rise and say their name. And I noticed over the past 2 days that there are people who stood up, members of our congregation, who had lost people in recent days and months past that we didn't know about. And so I'll say this over the course of the High Holy Days. We want to be there for you, and we want to help you if that's you. And so please share with us the news of your families as they occur, even if you think that they're distant relatives, because we want to be able to support you in times of grief. And so if you are in Shiva, your first 7 days of mourning, I'll invite you to rise and share the name of the person for whom you're thinking. If you're in Shloshim, the first 30 days of mourning, I'll invite you to rise and share the name of the person for whom you're thinking. If you're in Shana, the first year of mourning, I'll invite you to join those rising and share the name of the person for whom you're thinking. And if this week is the yard site, the anniversary of a loved one's death, I'll invite you to rise and share their name. We turn to page 292, and we rise, if you're able, with those who are already standing. And if it's your custom, I'll invite you to join with me in the mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, v'yalmad divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon u'beyomechon u'v'chayet l'chor Beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'bizman kariv imru amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mevorach le'olam u'l'olmei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitchomam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei d'kedusha berichu, לעילה ולעילה מכל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירן בעולמה ואמרו אמן. יהי שלום הרבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ואמרו Amen. Our tradition's way of holding in the balance exactly what we spoke about today, that it is for Israel and that it is for all living things on this earth. And so I'm going to invite up back to the Bima our guests for today. Of course, the wonderful collaborative voices of Ronnie Pressman, who did so much behind the scenes as well, and Perry Smilo, who was with our families all day yesterday, moving them and elevating them in prayer. My wonderful wife, Leora Perlman.
my terrific son on wonderful son on the drum kit. Of course, Bob Melman, who came in today. And the incredible, always there on every moment, Ed Alstrom. We finish our tefillah as a community together. Oseh shalom b'mirmav. Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mirmav. Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu. Oseh shalom b'mirmav.
Join with me. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Shana Tova, Happy New Year. Enjoy lunch, meet someone new.
That's fine. That's okay. We're getting better. Yeah. It's just like, no, and I'm just like, okay, whatever. It's getting better. That is correct. Right, you know those options, yes? Just making very much. Okay, a little bite of this, and then we're good to go. Hey, that's not bad.
What?
Hollows not bad.
Not bad? Is that
Not bad.